Cole was good. They needed a bounce-back performance from him, and he goes 7 scoreless, and he just looked good. I'm watching that game specifically last night to see what Gerrit Cole was going to do after 2 rough outings, getting beat up against Kansas City, and then obviously the last time out getting tattooed against the Mariners. So Cole goes out there and has a terrific performance. Now, maybe not as good as Luis Castillo on the other side, shutting down that Yankee lineup, but Gerrit Cole did his job. It's the rest of the Yankees that did not. And it brings us to, what are these New York Yankees? I don't know. I mean, they have the best record in the American League, tied there with the Astros. Would I be stunned? And I was saying this last week, and I forget which show. I've been doing so many fill-ins here. I have no idea what time I was on. Sleeping through the overnight shows or whatever time I'm. But I've been saying that I don't know what this Yankee team is. If you tell me right now the Yankees are going to get to the World Series and win it, okay, I can believe that. If you tell me right now the Yankees are going to be first round and out in the postseason, okay, I can believe that too. What are they? They're too damn inconsistent. They have been bad for about a month now. And then last night, the embarrassment. They embarrassed themselves in extra innings on the base paths. I mean, it is hard. The way that the new baseball rules are, it is hard not to score a run in extra innings. And the Yankees somehow managed that feat. How is that possible? Well, you're dumb on the base paths. That's one. Whether it's Andujar, Benintendi. The Yankees have been good at playing smart baseball all year long. Last night, not a great example. And like I said, this is not just a series against the Mariners. It's not just a rough patch or getting beat by the Astros or the Mets. This has been going on for a month plus now. As dominant as the Yankees were to start the year, 1998, now we're seeing the opposite, where they look pedestrian at best. And if it wasn't for a huge division lead, which they still have a 10.5 game lead over the Blue Jays in the AL East, and we haven't even thought about the AL East. All the talk about the Mets and the NL East, haven't even discussed the AL East, and there's a good reason for that, because that's been long over. But if it weren't for that, maybe we'd be focused a little more and concerned a little bit more about this Yankee team. I get the frustration. I don't know if there's real concern yet. Because you look at it and still say, wow, they're the best team. And look, Giancarlo has been out. They need him back. Rizzo has been out. I think they're getting him back today. I believe he is in lineup for today. We'll get to the Yankee lineup in a little bit. That will help. And that's why it's hard to put so much stock in this past month or so. But it still is the Yankees. Guys like Kiner Falefa, guys like Trevino, they've been inconsistent. DJ LeMahieu, Josh Donaldson, he's been more bad than good, but still, one night he has 4 hits, the next night he can't do anything. Overall, there's an inconsistency with this Yankee team. The pitching, I mean, look no further than that. The starters were great to start the year, and now all of a sudden they turn into what maybe you would expect, whether that is Jamison Tyone, Severino unfortunately being out. That hurts, but hey, that's part of it, because coming into the year, I don't know who really could fully count on Severino. You weren't sure what you were going to be able to get from him. Cortez been consistent and probably the most consistent, reliable starter. Gerrit Cole, like we mentioned, up and down. One day looks like an ace. One day giving up 5 home runs in one inning. I mean, who knows what this team is going to be? Would you be stunned if the Yankees game 1 of the division series go out there and Gerrit Cole gets lit up? I would not. Or would you be stunned if Gerrit Cole went out there and looked the way that he did last night? Spotting the fastball, sticking with the fastball more, having command of his pitches. And then, the Yankees miss out, of course, on Castillo, and now they've had Castillo stick it to him 3 times, whether it be with the Reds, whether it be the twice with the Mariners that we've seen him here. And the Yankees' answer to that was to get Montez, and he was a disaster in his first start. They're all over the place here. The rotation right now, I don't want to say in shambles. That might be a little strong, but there's no consistency there. There's no, okay, we know what we're getting from this guy, and then it's going to be followed up by this guy. It's all over the place. One day they score 9 runs, the next day they score nothing. One day the pitching gives up 1 run, the next day the pitching gives up 10 runs. We didn't even get to the bullpen. Who's the closer? Clay Holmes, yeah, he's been great. No, he was great. Last night, obviously, the bullpen wasn't the issue. It was the offense, but that's what happens with teams that are struggling, or bad teams in general. Yankees aren't a bad team, but they're a team that's clearly struggling. One night it's the offense, the next night it's the starters, the next night it's the bullpen, one night it's the defense, one night it's the base running. It's one thing or the other. What are these Yankees? Who are these Yankees? I don't have the answer. I wish I did. Usually I'd give you a firm opinion. Like right now, the Mets are a machine. I can tell you the Mets, I've been saying for a while, they're going to win the division. Up 5-0 as we have an eye on that as they expect we expect them to sweep the Reds here. But I know what that team is because they've been consistent. Now, does that mean that they're going to win the World Series? No. Who knows? But I do trust them to be what they are right now through the rest of the regular season and then on into the postseason, even though we know the postseason is a different story. Still, there are parts of the Mets that you know that are consistent. What is the part of the Yankees that has been consistent? Generally, they are built on that lineup. And in years past, the Yankees' issue would be, well, they pound people into submission in the regular season with the offense, and then in the postseason, that offense is not there. And I still think that's a big concern going into the playoffs this year. Even when they get now Rizzo back today, Giancarlo back, even if they're still fully clicking. And that's the damned if you do, damned if you don't with the Yankees, right? Even with Gerrit Cole last night, there's really nothing Cole could do at this point. It's, okay, yeah, that was a great start against Seattle, but what are you going to do in October? And let's say the Yankees go out there and score 10 runs this afternoon. Yeah, that's great, but are they going to be able to do it in the postseason? That's where their standards are at. It's different for the Yankees. They are at a point where it is World Series or bust. At the very least, get to a World Series or bust. Anything short of that is a complete failure. And I'll tell you, they are fortunate that they are in the American League. Now, there's been plenty of years where the American League has been the more dominant league, and the Yankees have had a tougher road to get to the World Series, to go win a World Series, whatever. This year is not one of those. You look at the American League, and it's basically, as much as we talk about the Yankees and what are they and the struggles that they've had and the inconsistencies that they've had for a month and a half, whatever it's been here. You look at the rest of the American League, who's going to threaten them? I mean, I'm not worried about the Mariners. Are you? I don't even care if the Mariners win today. So what? What does that mean? You think the Mariners are going to beat the Yankees in a playoff series? I don't. Castillo would scare me a little bit, but I'm not worried about the Mariners. Push comes to shove, Yankees aren't losing to them in a postseason series. The Twins? Come on, the Twins have been a bye before byes were actually put in the baseball playoffs. The Guardians? Ooh. No, I'm not scared about that or scared from them either. Maybe the Blue Jays or the Rays, I guess, just because of that familiarity within the division. But ultimately, I don't think the Yankees are losing a series to them. So if I don't know what the Yankees are, but I don't feel like anybody outside of the Astros are a threat, I mean, that still gets the Yankees to, at the very least, one of the best two teams in the American League, and they cannot lose to the Astros this year. I don't care what the lineup looks like, what the rotation looks like. The moves that could have been made were made. That's it. Whether you go back to the offseason and the Yankees not going all in then, whether you go to the deadline and the Yankees not going all in there. And look, maybe they couldn't have gotten Castillo with what the Mariners gave up, but you get the point. Yankees had a top target. They didn't get him. That's un-Yankee-like. But it doesn't matter. There are no excuses. Once the playoffs roll around, they cannot lose to the Astros again. And if that does happen, what fans are going to be calling for? Both Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman's jobs. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's where we're at here. It's at a point now where, and they know it. To the Yankees' credit, Cashman, they all know it. Boone himself, they know it. World Series or bust. At the very least, get there. But if you ask me, and I don't know if you did or not, I forget, 877-337-6666. My thought was earlier in the year, there was no doubt about it. This was the year the Yankees are getting to a World Series at the very least. After the way that they were dominating Major League Baseball. And I figured, look, they're going to add to it as well, which they did. But now, after watching this team come back down to earth a little bit, what you expected, I don't think anybody really thought this was the 1998 Yankees here. Plus, remember, that team had pedigree. This team does not. That team was already world champions. This team is not. But now that I've seen them come back down to earth and I've seen their weaknesses exposed here, I mean, who's their closer? Who's their number one, number two? What's the rotation looking like? Who do you trust to hit in the postseason? It's got to be Judge, right, to carry this team in the playoffs? What if he has a bad series? Are the Yankees going to be able to score enough runs in the playoffs against good pitching? Now, I'm not so sure. I have doubts about this Yankee team. Like I said, I don't want to say it's early because it's not early, but we don't want to be judging the Yankees in a small sample size. Well, they're not completely whole. But the way that everything was going to start the year, it's kind of the opposite now. And you feel like the timing is bad. Now, they do have enough time to get things back restored and try to have that order, whether it's in the rotation, whether it's in the lineup, and then have a final few weeks going into the playoffs where, okay, now we can relax and feel good about this team again. Whether that means getting Stanton back and mashing, whether that means lining up the rotation and having trust in Montez after he gets his feet wet a little bit here with the Yankees, having Cole go out there and put back-to-back starts together that are ace-like. And finding out who's going to be the definitive closer for this team. Right now, if I had to ask you, I think Yankee fans probably be split. I would assume that most people love what Holmes did this year and would be a little skeptical about Chapman and the past. But right now, Chapman looks like the guy who I would probably trust more. He's also done it before. Holmes hasn't. So we need to see the Yankees kind of restore order in that rotation with that lineup and then obviously with the bullpen as well. And they have time to do it. But right now, ahead of this rubber game with the Mariners here, the Yanks in danger of losing another series. That is something that was, losing a series. The Yankees don't do that at all. And now that's happened frequently. Whether it be splitting a series to the Pirates, losing a series to the Reds, getting swept by the Astros in a doubleheader, getting swept by the Mets in that 2-game series, losing to the Mariners, just not playing Yankee baseball, not playing like the best team in baseball. The record still says they're the best team in the American League and one of the better teams in Major League Baseball. But we're watching them, and the reason why the record says it is because of what they did on the front half of the season, not what they've done lately. And this now has been a large enough sample size to where there should be some concern, even if it is mild concern.